Hello guys, welcome to my humble YouTube channel where I bring you fanfiction that will brighten your days. Before we start, a subscribe is greatly appreciated, and don't forget to leave a like and ring the bell icon so you won't miss exciting new fanfiction stories. What if Hajime discovered other exit of Great Orcus Labyrinth? By JagaImo001. Chapter 3. Tea under the moonlight. Again, Hajime and the others are currently on 20th floor, where the magic circle brought them. Currently the group walks vigilantly, ready for any surprise attacks. They already reached 70th floor, but they can't just let their guard down just because they already defeated much stronger enemies. The monsters in this floor were quite troublesome after all. The monsters here can hide their presence and also likes to attack in groups, so Kuki and others can't let their guard down. The positioning of the entire party were like professionals, no openings that can be seen. The frontliner consists of Kuki, hero, as the main vanguard, Shizuku, swordmaster, Ryotaro, monk, Nagayama as follow-up, Tsuji Ayako and Yoshino Mao as support. Tsuji Ayako is a priest who can heal and cast support magic, but unlike Kaori, who trained a lot for a certain reason, her healing magic were just average or better than this world's residents. Yoshino Mao is a rejuvenist who excels on support magic, and can also cast buff spells on fast pace. Nagayama is a heavy knight. He's basically a tank, but because of his personality, he tends to be cautious with his actions. The rear guards were composed of Kaori, priest, Suzu, barrier master, Eri, necromancer, Saito, aerotheurge, Nomura Kentaro, and Nakano, pyromancer. Nomura Kentaro is a geomancer which specialize on earth magic. Unlike Hajime, who can craft, his focus is on offensive. Eri actually had never used necromancy yet, because of her moral as a Japanese, but she trained herself on fire magic instead to be useful for the party. Kaori and Suzu were the rearguard support, but because of how powerful the spells they can cast, the two of them often acts as the main support for the entire party. Hayama, light warrior, and Kondo, dragoon, are the flanks. Kosuke, assassin, were also one of the flanker, but because of his job, he always acts as the party's scout. Meld and the rest of the night were acting as bodyguard during expedition for the entire heroes party, but since they are in 20th floor, for now they lead the way forward and eliminate the monsters they would encounter. Hajime and Yu were walking far behind. They look like they aren't doing anything, but actually, Hajime were discussing their plans after reaching the kingdom with Yu, using telepathy stone imbued on her accessories. Kaori were stealing glances once in a while to Hajime. Same goes for most of the boys, but their focus were on Yu, admiring her beauty. Only the vanguard group were on their right senses to be on their guard, ready for ambushes. Shizuku still have lots of questions regarding Hajime, or rather, she's full of doubts if he really is him, so she asks her best friend, Kaori, a girl who knows him best, to confirm her suspicions. Kaori, are you really sure he's Nagumo-kun? Huh. What do you mean by that? Because of what happened earlier, you felt it too, right? That pressure he released. Yes, I don't quite understand it myself, but I know he really is Hajime. I can feel it, on my heart. Shizuku just stared on Kaori for a few seconds, and let out an exasperated sigh. Love-struck maidens really are complex and unstoppable, but Shizuku knows Kaori's thought process enough that she can't leave her alone on this. That's why she'll be by her side to support her wholeheartedly. Or stop her from doing something stupid. During this conversation between Shizuku and Kaori, Hayama and his gang approached Hajime and Yu with cynical smile pasted on their faces, or more accurately, only the three approaches him. Hayama seems out of himself for some reason. Since everyone is distracted, they take this chance for getting back at him for what he did earlier. They won't let go Hajime unscathed no matter what. Nah. Nagumo, that was something Where did that come from anyway? You got some guts now, huh? Wanna go? Don't worry, gross otaku, we'll go easy on you. Though, our level and stats are higher than the last time we did this to you, so it might still hurts a lot. All of them starts laughing loudly, which attracts the attention of all the students. Shizuku clicks her tongue and glared at the trio. She's ready to stop them before they do something bad to Hajime. Kaori were just staring. She wants to interfere, but she can't even move her feet for some reason. It seems like she lost her confidence, cause mainly of Yu. The other students saw this and ignore it as usual, but surprisingly, some of them seems opposed and also glared at the trio. Kuki, who noticed this, brushed it off and thought that it's only a friendly conversation. Hajime ignored the trio and walked relentlessly. Which makes the three angrier, but that anger on their faces transform into disgusting smile. They seemed to got an idea and shared a look with each other. Nakano signaled Kondo, which he took action and he starts reaching toward you, but before his hand even touched her hair, it suddenly fall to the floor with a dull sound. What happened? Saito and Nakano's faces pales instantly. They took a step back while screaming, not fitting for their gender. Kondo hasn't realized it until her comrades start screaming. The blood that was pouring out were beyond his imagination. He starts screaming himself and hurriedly picked up his severed hand. Most of the students saw it but really don't understand what happened. The screams of the trio bring them back to senses and they also start rushing to his side. Everyone ready their weapon, and the others were already chanting their spells. None of them were able to see what exactly happened. Even Shizuku, who specialize on speed, didn't even caught a glimpse of it. Hajime and Yu was just talking using telepathy, but they're still aware of their surrounding, which was why Hajime caught their intention even though they were behind him. He enhanced his prosthetic finger with Gale Claw and sliced Kondo's hand with a speed normal humans can't even perceive. While everyone were on guard from the unknown attacker, Meld knelt down and examined Kondo's wound. What happened? Kaori. Hurry up and heal him, he's losing too much blood. Kaori were still in daze the whole time and can't even process the current situation. She picked up the pace and ran toward her comrades, but suddenly, she noticed Yu right beside Hajime. They walked past them regardless of the situation. That wicked smile on her face brings shivers down Kaori's spine. She unconsciously stopped her chanting, but returned to her senses cause of her classmate, yelling out her name. While Kaori were healing Kondo, Meld asked again about the situation. What exactly happened? Can someone tell me? Especially those near to him before this happened. Nakano and Saito tried to answer, but they can't speak anymore cause of too much fear. Shizuki answered for them, even she herself don't exactly know what occurred. I neither see it, Meld-san. It was too fast. The only thing I noticed was something cutting through the wind. Huh? Did you see someone cast or chant that spell? Meld asked. No. I didn't. What do you think happened, Meld-san? Based on the tiny information we have, there's a few possibilities I can think of. First is that it's one of the labyrinth's trap, but the probability for that is too low, considering we've already explored this floor. Second, monsters attacked without us even noticing, since monsters here in this floor are specialized at hiding their presence, but still the odds are pretty low. When I examine his wound, I'm surprised of how clean the cut is. That thing. It used something pretty sharp if we factor up his defense stat, and no monsters exist in this floor that could do that clean swipe, which bring us again to the first conclusion. And lastly, someone used a one-word chant. Everyone were surprised when Meld stated the latter. The other two theories were still credible, but they haven't seen or heard someone who can do a one-word chant. Is that even possible, Meld-san? Kuki shouted. Yeah. There are even few races who could even cast magic without chanting, but they've been brought to extinction hundreds of years ago. They all talk until Kaori finished healing Kondo. The fact that she can heal a severe limbs were the proof of her bloody training. Kondo's tears were still flowing, even the wound were already fixed up. He's crying this whole time though. Kaori, who's been quiet this whole time, comes up with a conclusion, but before she voice out what's on her mind, there is an ear-splitting noise coming up ahead. There should be an open area at the end of this corridor, which nesting up with a lot of monsters. Hajime-kun. Kaori sprint up without second thought toward to where the sound come from. The others also returned to their senses and followed up after her. The moment all of them reached the end of the corridor, everyone were dumbfounded. Tons of monster corpses were littered everywhere. Some were missing their head or completely scattered into pieces. There's also some that were burned to death. Standing in the middle of these corpses were Hajime. On his side were Yu, pointing her palm against the party. She hadn't still used to their presence yet, or more likely that she's holding a grudge for them. It seems like both. Looking at Hajime's back, they noticed something odd. Since the time they reunite with him, something were obviously different, and that is that they can't feel any emotions from him except when he's talking with you. No joy or excitement from achieving such feat. In the past they haven't seen him make other expressions except his troubled smile, but they have to admit that it was so time though were something incomprehensible. It's like looking at a mountain. Firm and unshakable, but also intimidating. When they were observing Hajime, They noticed a weapon all of the students were familiar at, holding on both hands were something that shouldn't existed in this world. Meld and the knights were also confused but for different reason. They haven't seen something like this before, after all, it doesn't belong in this world. While they were in daze, Hajime spun his weapon and put it in its holster. Donner and Schlag, Hajime's most trusted weapon. The moment he throws his humanity and be reborn, his Donner was born. After thousands of attempts to acquire power to grant his dearest wish, his partner were successfully crafted, which helps him conquer the whole labyrinth. At the end of the dungeon lay Oscar's hideout and grant Hajime one of the 7 ancient magic called creation magic. This magic allows him to imbue magic to any kind of ore and be able to craft artifacts. He had created dozens of artifacts during his stay on the hideout, and one of them were Donner's twin sister, Schlag, which holds the same power as the former. Kaori rushed to Hajime regardless of the scene, she's more concerned to Hajime more than anything. Sai put her hand down, and cling to Hajime's arm. Kaori stopped in front of him and examined his body, searching for injuries. Obviously she found nothing but she had to confirm it regardless. Hajime-kun. Are you okay? Did you get hurt? Hajime looked at her above his shoulder without even facing her properly, and replied. Shirasaki. Thank you for your concern though, but I'm fine. NNN. These monsters are weak anyway. Considering their numbers it might be troublesome, but not for us. Yu said conceitedly. Kaori sighed in relief, but still. She can't shake off her frustration, cause Yu was the one fighting alongside Hajime. The others walked toward Hajime as well. Fear and curiosity were mingling together. The fact that he's Hajime they knew, were also fueling their confusion. Nagumo. Was that guns you're holding? Ryotaro asked. Wah. You know what that is, kiddo? Meld said. Yes, Meld-san. It's a weapon from our world called gun. Kuki interjected. Where in the hell did you get one of those shonen? Yeah, Nagumo. How did you get that kind of weapon in this world? Everyone were also curious, how to acquire this weapon. Having this kind of weapon in a world only sword and magic existed, was already cheating. Winning will be much more simple, and they would go home in no time. What are all of you saying? Of course I made it myself. Hajime stated. Keeping it secret wasn't really necessary though. Wah. You mean, by yourself? Shizuku asked. Yeah, of course. Is there someone out there from this world know what this is anyway? Yagashi. Now that you mention it, that makes sense, but guns are pretty complicated mechanisms, right? How did you manage to make it? I practiced obviously. I have tons of time down there, and my stats won't do me good, so I have to create something that pack enough punch to obliterate those bastards with ease. With this everyone finally understand how Hajime had managed to explore this dungeon by himself. It's only the tip of the iceberg though. Anyway, we're in a hurry, right? Meld-san, is it fine if I lead the way? Before Meld could even give his answer, Hajime relentlessly walked forward. Everyone followed suit without any complaints. On their way to the surface, they witnessed the power of Donner and Schlag. Meld and the knights were admiring its power. The fact that it only used small amount of mana, only brings them to excitement. Mass-producing this weapon will help humans with their war against demons, considering that it looks pretty easy to use, they could use their number as an advantage to subdue their foes. The students have different opinions, some were happy and in admiration, but there's also some that were jealous, especially Hayama and his gang. Kuki should be happy with Hajime's newfound strength, his comrade acquired power to be useful for everyone should make him satisfied. But he can't, there's something inside his heart he can't explain, something he never felt before. Kuki chucked it on his imagination since he literally have no idea what inferiority feels like. As Hajime lead the way, their chance to fight decreased drastically. They didn't even notice that they are already on first floor and ahead of them was the entrance of the labyrinth. It's already sunset as soon as they step outside. Orange sky, fluffy clouds, sunlight, and fresh wind. These trivial things were something Hajime and Yu were longing for so long. They look at each other and smile happily. Yu jump on Hajime to hug him, which he receive wholeheartedly. They cling to each other and yell multiple times until they tire themselves out. This attracts a lot of attentions from the bystander. Same goes for everyone from the hero's party. They can't understand why Hajime and Yu were like this, but some weren't stupid enough not to pick up their feelings. This too must had endured a lot. After cheering loudly like there will be no tomorrow, Hajime let go of Yu and walked near the entrance. There was an engraving that can be found. Oscar Orcus's Great Labyrinth were written in small symbol beneath of it. Hajime took out a ring with the same symbol and pointed it on the tablet. There's a light comes out from the ring, and suddenly the stone table slid open and inside was what everyone expecting, a treasure, but they didn't know what exactly are they looking at, except Meld and the knights. Their mouth were gaping open, and they can't even word out their thoughts. Meld, who was surprised among everyone else, questioned Hajime. Shonen. Is that what I think it is? Oh, this. It's divinity stone though. Is there something wrong? On Hajime's palm were a palm-sized divinity stone. An ore that takes thousands of years to take form. Meld and the others couldn't believe that they would be able to see one. The beauty it holds was something none of the students haven't seen before. They stare on it, admiring its glory. Hajime, who had seen much bigger than this, can't really sympathize with them. He put the ore on his coat, and walked towards them, ignoring everyone's gazes directed on him. Hajime used this trick to hide his treasure trove's existence. Kaori, who's the same state with everyone else, stepped forward in front of Hajime. Hajime-kun, how did you know that? There's something in there. Huh. Oh. I just read it on the books. I see, it's so beautiful, isn't? Where are you gonna use it? Creating artifacts, of course. They are very useful as monotank after all. On top of that, it's gorgeous, so making accessories with it is outstanding. Yu replied. She do this while showing off his earrings, necklace and the ring on her ring finger. Kaori, who saw this, snapped back her gaze back to Hajime. The light on her eyes were missing, and her aura suddenly changed. Shizuku sighed and clapped Kaori's shoulder, which all it takes to return her back to her senses. She frowned and looked down dejectedly. Meld, rally up everyone and head straight to their inn. They need to depart tomorrow morning, and all of them was obviously worn out. Under the full moon, Hayama can be found near Herod's public plaza. He drove his fist on one of the trees surrounding him while cursing with low but vehement voice. Shit. 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 How is that guy alive? How? There's another silhouette can be found near him, but this guy's identity were completely concealed. Stop causing some ruckus already. Someone might find us here if you're that loud. Hooded guy says. What do you expect me to do? That guy knows something obviously. He can reveal anytime about what happened on that day. There's no way I can stay calm. Relax. If that guy really planned to expose you, he should have done it when we reunite. There's no merit for him if he revealed your crime anyway, but just to be sure, we're gonna try to convince our classmates not to believe any single word he would say. Do you think we can do that? Definitely. We can use Kuki-kun especially for the time like this. They talk the rest of their plan on that night and later on return to inn inconspicuously. The rest of the heroes' party were currently resting. After finishing up their dinner, Meld ordered everyone to rest immediately. One girl was an exception. She's currently standing on front of the door, that were dimly lightened. She takes a few deep breaths and take actions. After knocking to the door, the person inside open it like they already know she was there. The mood of the room owner seems annoyed for some reason. Hajime already sensed the owner of this particular presence. He's currently sorting out their loots and putting on separate it pouch, when he suddenly sensed her presence in front of their room. He already knew her reason to be here, so he reluctantly opened the door and greet the girl in front of him. What is it, Shirasaki? Kaori flinched to his annoyed tone, but she gathered her resolve and greeted Hajime back. Good evening, Hajime-kun. There's just something I just want to talk about, if it's fine? Hajime and sighed and replied, come in for now, and be quick with it, I still have something to do. Kaori smiled sadly and walked behind Hajime. Once inside she spotted Yu sleeping and lots of stuffs on the desk near window. Hajime walked toward Yu. He ran his hand on her fluffy golden hair and kissed her forehead. Kaori, who already know what kind of relationship they had, was frustrated, cause she herself didn't had a chance to saw this kind of emotion comes from Hajime before. She sat on the available chair while Hajime were preparing their tea. Normally he wouldn't bother to do this for anyone, but Kaori was someone different. So what do you want to talk about, Shirasaki? I just want to know what happened down there. I really need to know. I can't even sleep thinking about you, Kaori said. Hajime approached her and handed her a cup of tea. As expected, he really have no idea how to make it properly, but Kaori feels nostalgic from this tea. Regardless of the taste, she drank it without hesitation. The taste was the same as before. Kaori didn't even notice that she's smiling. Hajime scratched his head awkwardly and started talking. I know it doesn't taste good, so you don't really have to force yourself though. No. That's fine. Really. Anyway, can you please tell me your story now? Sigh. You know there's really nothing special happened to me down there. I just fight monsters, craft artifacts and find my way outside. I just accidentally find you who were sealed, and freed her on a whim. Ha ha ha. When I'm recalling that scenario, it was really funny how I tried to abandon her first place. Wah. Why would you abandon her? What do you expect me to do? The monsters down there was much stronger, you know. I'm cautious, after all. Letting my guard down would lead to my instant death. Kaori just stared at Hajime. His iron will was the same as always, and it's quite admirable. You know, when you fall on that bridge, I realize something. Something I'd never thought before. I love you. I always does since that day. I want you to look on me. And me only. That's why I did my best for you to notice me, but back then, I have no idea what kind of feeling I have for you. I guess Shizuku-chan does. That's why she supported me. I'm so happy knowing you survive, but then Yu-san is with you now. I'm so pathetic, am I? I can't even protect someone I love. That's why I trained so hard for the day we met again, and then. I will definitely protect you this time. Kaori started sobbing during her monologue. Tears streaming down her face and her sleeve was already wet with tears. Shirasaki. Seems like I make you worried. As you can see, I'm alive. So stop crying. Hajime, who receives Kaori's confession, don't really have any idea how to comfort her. He approached her, pat her head and said those words. Kaori looked at Hajime, still tears streaming down from her eyes. What she saw surprised her, that nostalgic gaze. When he tried to come up with solution to reassure her back then, he requested Kaori to protect him. He wore the same expression back then when she talked to him and warned him about her dream. That was enough to bring Kaori's emotions to overload. She hugged him tightly and kissed his lips. Hajime didn't expect that to happen, so he didn't had time to react to dodge her kiss. It only lasted for few seconds, but it feels decades had passed instantly. Hajime separated his lips from Kaori and tried to calm her burning passion. If he was the same back then, he would lose control with his own emotions too, but he brushed it off like nothing and got back to his own seat. Kaori finally returned to her senses and her face was bright red like a tomato, but she looked sad cause she thought she didn't have enough charm to move Hajime. Hajime changed the topic and avoided talking about the kiss, which makes Kaori's mood better. Like that they talk random topic until Kaori returned to her own room. Shizuku, who hasn't slept yet, questioned Kaori regarding her errand, with a teasing smile. They didn't even notice the time and it's sunrise already outside when they finished talking. They took their belongings and head outside where the carriage should be waiting. Chapter 4. Road trip. Outside Harad, the heroes' party gathered, mounting on their assigned carriage. Their destination will be Helig Kingdom, to announce the miraculous survival of one of God's apostle. The party seems excited to see the rest of their classmates, especially since Hajime were with them. This might help them to overcome their trauma on their first excursion. Meld already arranged everything and hastened everyone so they can arrive before sundown. Kaori was looking around worriedly, cause there was still members that wasn't present, and asked Meld, who was busy talking with the carriage owner. Meld-san. Where's Hajime-kun and Shizuku-chan? Oh. Right. I didn't tell you because Shizuku asked me, but they will stay here for a while longer. I want all of us to depart together, but Hajime said they will catch on us later. What? Why? Hajime said, he needs to purchase something and asked me to lend him some money. Then. Why Shizuku-chan has to go with them? I asked her to be their guide once they arrive on the kingdom. I already sent some messages regarding Hajime, but to just guarantee nobody would mess with him. Then I will stay too. Where are they right now? That's why Shizuku asked me not to tell you. Sigh. The truth is when I tasked someone to be their guide, they refused it, but after some long explanation they accepted it eventually. The one who picked who would accompany them was that girl beside Hajime. I don't know why, but I don't really have a choice. I don't really want to lose some of our best fighters in case of emergency, so I tried recommending someone else, but she turned down all of them. Then let me stay here too, since I'm not a combat class, there's really no difference if I accompany them instead. You can't. Hajime said he could only bring one more person with him. I don't know what kind of transportation they would use, but Hajime seems confident that he would catch on us in no time. I see. Kaori says with a sad-looking face and mount the carriage dejectedly. The other students was already aware of the situation, so they didn't bother seeking for their other comrades. Kuki was against the idea of leaving Shizuku behind at first, but he unhappily accepted after Meld's explanations. So Hajime, please, tell me already what you want to buy here. Shizuku asked, walking beside you. Some daily necessities, like food and spare clothes. Oh, I also need to sell some items on the Adventurers Guild. Sigh, and why it has to be me to accompany you on your errands. Wait. Why do you need them anyway? The kingdom will provide all we need, you know. I didn't. You was the one who chose you. And relying on kingdom is no good for me, you know that already, Yagashi. Oh. Yeah, you're probably right. But still, instead of me, Kaori would be glad to accompany you, you know. NNN. I know, that's why I chose you. You replied. Hey. They walked until they're in front of the Adventurers Guild. Hajime hand over the treasure trove to you while saying, let's meet on the plaza later. Hajime entered the facility and you started walking to different direction. Shizuku, who got confused who to follow, walked behind you. While walking in a bustling street, Shizuku talked to you to lighten up the mood. You san right. Why did you chose me instead of Kaori? NNN. I already heard a lot from Hajime about this Kaori girl and I know that she's in love to Hajime. OWW. So you can't let her get near Hajime, huh? That's obvious since you're his girlfriend. NNN. Also, I want to ask a lot about Hajime and Kaori, so you're the best choice to answer all of it. Why not ask Nagumo-kun instead? Hajime sometimes don't answer my questions, it seems like he don't want to talk about it. I know he's embarrassed, so I can't really force him to tell me. Shizuku sighed and began telling all of the stories regarding Kaori and Hajime. This also includes their first meeting. Since you were his girlfriend, Shizuku thought that she has a right to know. Like that they talked a lot while on errand. Yu's expressions was a combination of happiness from discovering Hajime's lifestyle and surprised from knowing his dark secrets. It's noon already when they finish shopping. They head to their meeting place and meet up with Hajime. Hajime was leaning on one of the trees near Plaza, and once he saw you and Shizuku's figures, he walked toward them and reported about his situation. I'm done selling the items and also, I'm a blue-ranked adventurer now. Huh? Why? You asked. Apparently there's a price increase if I sell my stuffs as an adventurer. You nodded in understanding and hand over the treasure trove to Hajime. Did you bought all I asked for? NNN. There's no problem. Some thugs tried to pick fight with us but Shizuku take cares of them all. Oh. Way to go, Yagashi. Well, they're pretty weak, so I can't really tell if that's praiseworthy. You did something happened. You seem to be having fun. NNN. Don't mind it. You said with smile. Hajime shot a questioning glance at Shizuku and she averted her gaze with all her might. He sighed and decided not pry any longer. He started walking and you ran beside him to hold his hand. Shizuku awkwardly walked behind them, trying not to look at their direction. She didn't really want to become a third wheel by her best friend's crush and his lover. They reached the Harrods gate and Shizuku started asking some of carriage owners for their destination. When she finds someone with the same route with them, Hajime suddenly called out to her. When she looked at the direction of the voice, she found a familiar-looking vehicle. It's a motorcycle. Hajime were currently riding it and Yu was in front of him. Because of Yu's small figure, Hajime had no problem reaching over her to drive. Shizuku couldn't hide her shocked expression, while she staggeringly walked towards them. Common folks were also in shock from seeing an unknown vehicle. They just stared at Hajime with their mouth gaping open. What is that, Nagumo-kun? Oh, it's my mana-powered motorcycle, Stife. Ho. Wah. You know what, I'm not gonna ask anymore. No wonder you're certain we'll catch on them. Stife was mana-powered motorcycle. It was a large, American-style vehicle with a black body. Unlike motorcycles back on Earth, it didn't use gasoline to run as fuel. It was powered purely by mana. Thanks to that, it ran quieter than an electric car. He had actually been hoping for a louder engine, since to him that was way cooler, but he only knew how to make simple engines, so he wasn't able to make a more complicated combustion one. He could control Stife's speed by adjusting his mana output, and he also had transmuted a machine to the bottom of the motorcycle that smoothed out any ground before the wheels hit it. Well, Yagashi, are you just gonna stand there or what? Shizuku, who was in daze, sighed and edged herself onto the bike behind Hajime. She sit side saddle and hold onto Hajime's coat while blushing a little. She tried to find somewhere comfortable to hold into, but there's none really. It's a motorcycle after all. This was her first time riding a motorcycle, as passenger though. Shizuku's imaginations went wild. This was what she always dreamed of, but instead of a prince on a white horse, it's the demon himself and his motorcycle. Shizuku berated herself for thinking such thing and focused her thoughts to random stuffs unrelated to Hajime. Yegashi, hold on properly, okay, I'll be going on full speed. Shizuku nodded, her cheeks still red. Hajime poured mana on Stife and it accelerate way faster than Shizuku thought. She let out an adorable scream and hugged Hajime tightly. She's red as tomato now in shame and never mind. They travel in high speed while kicking a large cloud of dust, and sooner or later they can already see Kingdom far from the horizon. Inside the carriage of the heroes' party, an heavy atmosphere was in the air and no one dared to talk. Everyone was full of thoughts regarding the previous events inside the labyrinth. Some were undoubtedly happy about Hajime's survival, but there's also who weren't having the same thought like the rest. Hayama was clearly stressed out. His mind was full on how to deal with Hajime and his way to convince his classmates in case he reveals the truth. Kaori was also in daze, looking outside the window, but sometimes she'll blush for no particular reason. Clearly she was thinking about what she did last night. Her cheeks were red now cause she already slapped her own cheeks several times already to cleared her thoughts. Suzu, who was always expert in this situations, brings up a topic to lift up the mood a little. Nagumo-san is so cool, right? Suzu still can't believe he survived that, and those artifacts he created is out of this world, literally. Who would have thought to bring modern weapons to such era? Suzu said in cheery tone while laughing happily. The other students look at Suzu for seconds, smiles and also give some of their impressions regarding Hajime. I know, right? I can't even recognize him anymore. Nagayama replied. And he's giving a vibe like an adult man. Is he really Nagumo-san? Yoshino followed up. Daru. Nonetheless, Kaorin still know it's him. Ha ha ha, how did you do that? Do you have a skill for that or something? And no, I didn't recognize him either. I just know that he's him. Kaori was flustered and her cheeks was red. Some of the students already know that Kaori were in love with Hajime. Others still can't accept it, but they have to eventually. It's for Kaori's sake anyway. Hayama and his gang were still against it. They clicked their tongue in annoyance and glared at the direction where Harad was located. Kuki and Ryutaro, who was still clueless about Kaori's feelings for Hajime, didn't bother to pay attention to her reactions. His body has a lot of changes too. He got good muscles now, but for some reason he also gained height somehow. Ryutaro says in amused tone. Yeah, and looking at his outfit, he doesn't look like someone who spent his time trapped on the dungeon. Kuki added. Hayama's cronies can't hide their anger anymore and decided to butt in on the conversation and change the subject. Stop the talk about Nagumo. What about that girl beside him? Isn't she an angel? Nakano shouted. Wakuro. She's my ideal girl already. That Nagumo, how did he get someone like her? Saito commented while gritting his teeth. Ha! That bastard, maybe we can teach him some lesson later. But I understand both of you, that girl was so beautiful. With her height like a middle schooler and a face of an angel, makes me want to hug her. Kondo added. Ha ha, if you try something like that, not only your hand, but your entire body will be cut to pieces. Nakano jokingly said while laughing loudly. This brought fear to everyone when they suddenly remembered that incident. No one was laughing anymore and all of them just looked at Kondo's arm. Meld, who were talking with the coachman sitting on the front, has his attention caught with Kondo's remark. Bozu, what did you say? Why didn't you tell us earlier? Closing square bracket. Everyone was caught surprised by Meld's loud voice. If you tell us that earlier, we could somehow look for the real culprit, you know. Closing square bracket. Meld sighed and continued talking. Sigh, well, forget about it. I'll talk to him later, and as for you guys, don't get near Hajime and that girl until I'm done investigating, understand? Closing square bracket. No way. Meld-san, you're not actually blaming Hajime-kun about that, right? Kaori shouted. I'm not. Just calm down, Kaori. Closing square bracket. Meld-san is right, Kaori. It's for our own safety, so stay away from Nagumo for now. Kuki tried to console Kaori, but that only enraged her even further.
What are you saying, Kuki? Hajime would never do something like that. Kaori bolted out her seat and shouted. I know, so calm down, Kaori. He's too weak without his artifacts, so he can't really hurt us without weapons. Closing square bracket. Hayama, who was silent all this time, suddenly pop up an idea and decided to join in the conversation.
You might be wrong, Amanogawa. Nagumo might really has do with that incident. Everyone looks on Hayama with shocked expression. Accusing someone without evidence were unforgivable, so Kuki decided to ask Hayama for more details. Hayama. And what makes you think he would do that? Except my friends, those two was the closest to the scene. What are you saying, Hayama-kun? Hajime would never do that. That girl might be behind this if we consider your opinion. Shirasaki-san. That girl looks weak for warrior to cut someone using physical force. If she is a mage it might be possible, but no one even here or saw her cast magic, no magic circle nor even chanting. Is that why you're saying it's Nagumo who did that? Kuki said in serious tone. Yes, if he can create something like a gun, crafting a weapon that was sharp and unnoticeable is a cakewalk for his abilities now. Plus he threatened us. No exception. Everyone including Shirasaki-san and Yagashi-san. That's not true. There's no way. No way. Hajime-kun would hurt someone.
That Nagumo, now that you mention it, I probably need to have a word him. I won't forgive him for threatening my friends. Closing square bracket.
Everyone was silent from realization. Meld was staring at everyone's reaction and come with only solution he can think of. I'll ask him later. He's an honest man, so I know he won't lie. All of you, obey what I said. Don't talk or get close to him alone. This is for all of your safety.
With that, the discussion regarding Hajime was done, and the silence atmosphere returned, not until their carriage came to stop. What are trying to do? We're in a hurry, you know. Meld shouted angrily. Everyone peeked outside and saw a group of soldiers of Hyli Kingdom with their carriages blocking their route. One soldier walked toward Meld's side and whispered something to him. Meld looked questioningly to the soldier and sighed. He looked behind and gestured all the knights under his command to get down from the carriage. UHHMM. Something suddenly came up, and His Majesty commands me to pick up Aiko-sama from her excursion from the town near here. I don't really know if she's done there since she only started 5 days ago, but if she heard the news maybe her assignment there will be finished instantly. Meld said while scratching the back of his head. Why is that, Meld-san? Did Sensei encounter something that she needs some help with? Kuki asked worriedly. Yes. Apparently there's already reports from tons of merchant getting ambushed by bandits on that forest near the town, and His Majesty want us to subjugate them before Aiko-sama gets involved. Closing square bracket. Then let's hurry up before Sensei gets hurt. Kuki shouted. No, you can't. All of you need to be on the kingdom to report in my stead to His Majesty. Those bandits doesn't really much of threat if they didn't attack Aiko-sama on her way to that town. But His Majesty feared that those bandits might take advantage of their number to overwhelm the holy knights guarding her. Closing square bracket. Are you saying the kingdom hasn't done anything yet because they aren't really a threat? Then they shouldn't send Sensei there with small number of soldiers beside her. What are they gonna do if something happens to Sensei there? Closing square bracket. Everyone looked anxiously to Kuki. They too were worried about their teacher, that they would rather join the subjugation mission than anything else. The truth was this remote town was in famine a few months ago because of these bandits, which attracts lots of merchants and adventurers, and it Bakame a small-scale trading industry. That should make this town more secured, but a few weeks ago the report about the merchant getting attacked near town increased drastically. The landlord already conveyed their situation to the kingdom again, but the process of securing enough soldiers was too slow, caused tons of monster attack reports among several remote village and town come in waves. They have no choice but to deploy troops to these towns that the goddess of harvest visited. They can't afford losing their supplies sources for the upcoming war against demons. Meld cleared his throat and talked or gave his order again in a dignified voice fitting for a commander. I won't accept any complaints. All of you will be heading to the kingdom as soon as possible. That's all. Let's go. Closing square bracket. Meld turned his back on them and walked to other carriages provided. The other students, even Kuki dejected, went back to their own carriage. They already have a near-death experience for disobedience, so they don't have a choice but follow Meld's commands. It's already sunset when they reach the kingdom. Everyone was still filled with lots of worried thoughts regarding their teacher. They were entering the main gate of the kingdom, but suddenly Suzu, who was looking outside, noticed an unknown object heading their way on high speed, with a huge cloud of dust trailing behind. She called out to them in panic.
Are those monsters? Kuki and everyone else stiffened up and looked to the direction Suzu were currently pointing at.
Everyone on your position. Kuki commands. Everyone immediately went down and took formation based on their training. But that was completely necessary when they catch glimpse of a familiar blonde-haired girl and a white-haired boy riding an unknown vehicle. No. They know exactly what was that. That was something from their world. They only stared on that thing until it stopped in front of them stylishly by doing a perfect brake slide.
Sup? Hajime said, still mounting on his motorcycle. On his front was Yu, who was enjoying her first ever motorcycle ride. Shizuku behind him were hugging tightly on Hajime while blushing to tip of her ears. She came back to her senses, untangled herself from him and hurriedly descended from the motorcycle. Shizuku rushed beside Kaori and hugged her tightly, which brings her back to sense. Shizuku-chan, what at the matter? Your face is red, you know. Kaori. My best friend. Sorry, please forgive me. Why are you suddenly apologizing? Did something happen? Please tell me, Shizuku-chan. Shizuku just keep hugging Kaori without replying to her questions. Nagayama, who was one of the level-headed person among the group, snapped back to reality and asked what should be asked. Nagumo. Is that AMMM motorcycle? Huh. Oh. Yeah, it's a motorcycle. Everyone was still staring on stiff, eyes and mouth were wide open. Nagayama's question bring them back to senses and was about to ask the questions themselves, but Hajime ignored their gazes, dismount stiff while carrying Yu in princess style and tap his foot twice. The ground beneath stiff suddenly lowered and now it's buried underground. That beautiful custom motorcycle were now covered in dirt. Most of the boys looks at Hajime like they want to punch him. Judging from their shaking fist that was clenched tightly, it seems they really want to punch Hajime's face. Hajime only do this to cover up the existence of his treasure trove. That was cool, Nagumo-san. Suzu can't wait to see what kind of artifact you'll made for me. Suzu hopes it looks cute rather than cool. He.
Suzu says in a loud, cheerful voice. Looking at everyone's expression, they too were eager to see what kind of equipment they would receive from Hajime. Even the bastard four who insults his job were also the same as everyone else. They talked with each other about their preferences and what kind of design they would like. None were able to see Hajime's expressionless face and cold eyes. Yu on his side just sighed while saying, "What a bunch of morons," and sides her mind.
Anyway, let's hurry up. I need to take some rest for tomorrow. There's lots of stuffs I have to do. Everybody look at Hajime with eyes full of expectations. They rush into their assigned carriage and sits like a trained soldiers with their back on 90 angle. Hajime just sighed and walked to only sit available on the front next the coachman. He take a seat, still carrying Yu on his arms, and place her on his front. She leans happily on him and grab both of his hands and makes him hug her from behind. The pink atmosphere that will give diabetes to anyone was on everyone's line of sight. Some stared enviously while the others moved their gazes away from the two. Suzu, who wasn't used to this kind of atmosphere, asked Hajime. Her cheeks were still red though. Nagumo-san. You won't use your motorcycle. It's so cool, you know. Suzu's sure it will attract lots of attention and you can brag with your sweet ride. Hajime and Yu's world pop and they return to reality. Hajime sighed and answers her question with annoyed tone.
Sigh, like you said it will attract attention. What am I supposed to do after that? Besides, it will only scare this world's residents. I mean, look at those guards. They were looking at me like I'm an alien somewhere while pointing their weapons on me. Sigh, anyway, we need to go now. Asen, do your job now. Closing square bracket.
Suzu nodded in realization. The coachman, who was still looking at Hajime with eyes and mouth open, hurriedly grabbed the lead rope and drive the carriage before this unknown guy gets angry. They reach the castle in no time. In front of the extravagant double door were a bunch of soldiers on each side raising their swords, forming a saber arch. The way they welcomed their world's heroes was really appreciated by Kuki and the others. The extravagant double door opens up and a silhouette of little boy rush out while yelling out someone's name. Kaori.